Hey, welcome to the podcast. Before we get into it today, I just want to talk about our sponsors. This is brought to you by Local Menace Apparel. Now, we first came across these guys at Four Chord Music Festival last year, and honestly, they're right up our street, completely involved in the same scene as us. Local Menace is an independent punk and alternative clothing brand, doing things their own way, no corporate nonsense, just quality gear made for people who actually care about our scene. Whether you're heading to a show or you're just repping the culture day to day, they've got you covered. Head over to localmenace.com. That's LOCALMENACE.com. Head to their store and you can use our discount code, which will get you 25% off. The code is WASTETIME. That's WASTETIME. That's localmenace.com. Link will also be in our show notes. All right, let's get into it. Hello, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast, part of the Never a Phase Network. I'm Chris. I'm here with my co-host Nick. Hello, Nick.
Hello, Chris. It's lovely to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Or speak to you. For most people that are listening, no one can actually see us most of the time.
Yes, very true.
What's new?
What's new? And let's be transparent. So we were just we were recording. We were supposed to record an interview. The interviewee was then rescheduled on us. We started recording this intro, and then our interviewee showed up. So we've just done an interview, and we've got to get into the flow of the intro again. So bear with us. I think. Before our guest joined us we were just saying it's lovely weather as we record. I'm in central London. It's a hot day, but yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, we were trying to find an alternative bit of small talk to me just being tired and having children.
That was it. That's what we were saying.
Things up. So yes, but no, we were segueing into kind of the festival kind of conversation and our press accreditation coming through for Slam Dunk this week.
That was it.
Getting the wheels in motion for that and getting some interviews booked hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Big lineup this year at Slam Dunk, which is very exciting. I think it's probably the strongest lineup for a while.
Yes.
For me personally, obviously that's not the same for everyone.
I mean, that's perhaps, why it works, you and me doing a music podcast together, because there is a lot in the Venn diagram of our music taste. There's a lot in the middle. Because I've spoken to people who are less keen on the lineup, but I think for both of us, it's a very exciting one, and some of our favourite bands. And if you go through the schedule, there's not many points where we don't want to be watching something, which is good for me because we were saying on the first attempt at this intro, I'm doing South and North. So in terms of interviews and actually watching artists, it'll give me a chance to see everything I want to see, which is a lot.
You hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know fine well that interview clashes are gonna hit left, right, and center, and
they are.
It's
they are
scupper your whole plan.
Yeah, to kind of break the fourth wall on this, when you do press at a festival like Slam Dunk, most of the interviews tend to take place sort of from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Like we did Newfound Glory about 4 p.m. last year, and that was the last one. So once you've done that, basically anyone who plays from 5 p.m. onwards, you know you're probably not going to have an interview clash with. But in the afternoon, you really have to kind of work it out and maybe sacrifice watching some bands. I had to do a lot of that last year.
Yeah. What time of driveway is this year?
They're on at 2 o'clock, something like that. So. Yeah, that's a set I'd like to see both days. I'll do my best to make that happen.
Cool. Well, maybe we'll do a little clash finder between the two of ourselves, and maybe bring it to an episode where we discuss kind of our schedule for the day, our preferred schedule for the day.
Yeah. And also a little spoiler to our next episode. The guest that I speak to is going to Slam Dunk, and there's a lot of Slam Dunk talk about the lineup and stuff. So listen out for that. So we'll not say too much more now.
Fair enough. Also, everyone's going to know your schedule from that, right?
Yes, exactly.
See.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just do mine then.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we've got Ben from a band called Bottom Line today, haven't we? Who's got a very interesting story, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Before we get into that, is there anything any new music you wanna plug or shout about?
I don't think there's too much that I've been listening to that we didn't talk about last time. I think looking at what I've been playing the most, we definitely discussed in the last
You
intro.
did you did get on the Sly Withers album, didn't you, eventually? I know I've been plugging
Yes.
them for a while.
Yes, you've
And
been singing their praises for ages, and I apologize. I only listened to it last week, which the newest album that is. Yeah, it's very cool, very cool. Like sort of straightforward pop punk, Aussie accent singing.
has a good little mix, doesn't it? It kind of,
Yeah,
ebbs and flows a little bit.
yeah,
It's a really kind of nice, easy listen that, and just a really nice, complete record, I think. So, yeah, if you haven't checked it out, I think it's called "To Be Honest," the actual title of the record. But yeah,
it
Sly
is.
with
It
us.
is.
Go and
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah, and you did an interesting comparison. You said it reminded you of a band called My Awesome Compilation, which is I don't, given most of our listeners are based over in the States, I don't know how many will be familiar with that reference, but they were on the UK scene in the early 2000s. Nick and I were both fans of
Yeah,
theirs. Uh,
yeah, and they were kind of the pop rock with a bit of synth in, a
yeah,
bit of pop punk as well.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so if anyone, I know they've had their kind of big album Action, I think it's called Actions, kind of off Spotify for a while, but it's back on now, so
yeah.
um, people
Go
should go
listen
check
to
that
it.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they often like our posts and stuff. So if they listen to the show, shout out to you guys. You used to tour with like old mates of mine. I think you would have toured with like Not
not
Katie's,
Katie's.
Poindexter, Phineas
Yeah,
Gage, all those guys.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, I guess is it? I mean, is it good to get into this episode? I know Ben's
Yeah.
been,
Well, I
I don't
think
know if you wanted a bit of a.
before we do, there is one thing that I listened to recently, and it's relevant to the episode. So Ben actually produced an artist called Sean Waits, a song called "My Head" that came out the other week, which is a really well crafted song.
Okay,
I'd encourage our listeners to listen to that. So
cool. Yeah,
it's I
I'll
know
check that
Ben's
out.
doing solo stuff, but it's also cool that he's working with other artists like this as well. But well, before we get into it, so as Nick says, we spoke to Ben, who was from a band called Bottom Line. Bottom Line, Nick and I were familiar with them in the early 2000s. They were kind of doing well in the sort of Warped Tour scene, and then John Feldmann took them on, recorded a record with them that never came out, and it's something that I've always wanted to hear, and obviously we go into detail about this record with
Yeah,
Ben, but I think we should say before we go into the interview that immediately after it, Ben was kind enough to send us the record that I've wanted to hear in all these years, and um,
yeah, it's
yeah,
kind of a record that was held. I mean, you're here in the episode, but a record that was kind of held to ransom by
yeah,
Warner Brothers with the Maverick kind of folding and merger into Warner Brothers and not really being able to get the record away from Warner Brothers and get it released. So it's kind of it's been locked away.
any thoughts on the record?
Yeah, I think it's a really good record, and it's a shame it's not in the world because I think it would have done really well. Um, I know he talked about
Yeah,
Trainwreck. I really like that, and she left off. I think it's another one that
yeah.
I really like. It's a really good pop punk anthem on that
Yeah,
record. But it's hard to talk about it when you know that no one else can go and fucking listen to
yeah,
it.
it's
You know
funny.
what I
It's
mean?
funny, and also like, well, the listeners will hear Ben talk about it, and there's various reasons that he wouldn't be comfortable with it coming out because I don't think as a whole that he loves all of it. But when it's good, it's really good, and it's funny. He does talk about how it was perhaps made to sound a bit too messed, as in the band Messed, which you can really hear. I mean, like he likes Messed. He didn't mean that's a criticism, but it was just
I
like,
really don't like Mess at all. Like they're really yeah, not my cup of tea.
yeah. Nick says for the people who can't see Nick, there is a Messed record displayed on his record player behind him. But yeah, I thought it sounded like a mixture of Over It and Messed, and very clearly done by John Feldmann.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I'd
yeah,
say that's fair. Yeah, and like I know it was Show Off were caught up in the same Warner Brothers thing, weren't they?
they were. That's
With their
right. Yeah,
record, and you can almost hear a bit of Show Off in the record as well. I
yeah.
assume that John was probably working with Bottom Line and Show off at a similar kind of time?
They're probably about 6 years apart, but it was still,
Really?
but in the grand scheme of John's career, that's almost in the same phase, isn't it? You know, if you think how long he's been doing it now. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this one really is a treat, like because Ben really goes into detail and shares stories on what these experiences were like, and just
honest portrayal of his experience and his working with John and all that kind of jazz as well. So should we get into it?
Just want to publicly thank him again because it was really fun to do this one, and we've been in touch a lot since. So appreciate you, Ben. Here's the episode.
No problem. I'm excited. I'm honored to be here. So it's truly my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's good to meet you because I guess we've exchanged messages for a while, a little bit on social media, but let me introduce myself. So I'm Chris. I'm based about 30 minutes southwest of London, and I will let my co-host introduce himself.
Yeah. And I'm Nick. Ben, I'm based up in the northeast of England in a place called Newcastle upon Tyne. I'm not sure if you ever passed through there.
No. Wish I spent any time in the UK, but I've not.
Did you never get over here back in the day?
No, never got the chance. Bottom Line went to Japan, and then we got invited to go to Indonesia one time. We didn't make it, and then we went to so I think we were trying to couple that with a second Japan trip at some point, and then we had a full South America tour booked, and then we actually canceled that tour to record the record with Feldmann for Maverick. So we have a lot of the history of that. Bottom Line is very riddled with almost did this, almost did that, and that's one of those things. But I just recently went to Portugal and Spain for my honeymoon, so I made it across the pond. But
congratulations!
Congratulations on getting married, dude.
Thank you.
Well, we definitely want to delve into some of that history, I guess, and obviously working with Feldmann and some of you're touring back in the day. But I mean, where are you now? Like, what's life like for you these days?
I live in Cincinnati, Ohio area still, which is where the band originated and was from. Around the Maverick years of the band, I'd lived in LA for about 2 years. Actually, I lived in Huntington Beach, but on and off. Actually, I lived with John Feldmann for like several months and worked as a studio assistant during kind of the process of writing that record.
Interesting.
But after the band had some troubles and stuff, I just kind of felt a little marooned away from the home base and everything, and it just wasn't productive to be so far away, and at the time I'm basically back to basics. We were back to acoustic guitars in our bedrooms writing music for like the fourth time of our lives at that point. And so I just was like, I think I need to go back home. And so I just moved back in with my mom back in Cincinnati, and then I've just been here ever since. So and I primarily I guess my biggest source of income is working in like the festival circuit industry. Like I do actually a business partner that was the Nice Guy Records, the first record label for Bottom Line. We're still in business together. We still have dreams and schemes that we work on.
Oh wow.
So we have a taco fest that we run in Cincinnati. It's in our 5th year, and then we have I do freelancing for festivals and stuff. I do so much random shit, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where I've settled. But I still produce music. Last year I did a soundtrack song for a documentary.
Oh, nice.
Just like things like that. I mean, it's just like the freelance life is, I'll do 1 month it's like this, the next month it's something else. So,
What was the guy who did Nice Guy Records? What was his name again?
Jamie Mandel.
Yeah, because I first discovered you guys, I guess it would have been like 2002, because just randomly in the record shop, I found a sampler called Pop Punk Fever, which was Nice Guy Records.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
This is going to trip down memory lane. That's it.
There you go.
That's it. Yeah, and there's so many good songs on that, and obviously you guys are on there. But I remember because Nick and I, we played in a band together in those years, and I remember like sending demos to the guy and stuff. I even used to have a
Cool.
Nice Guy Records T-shirt that I had ordered as well.
Amazing. That's awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah, I mean, the most of our career was with Jamie. We signed in 2000 to, we just put out this little EP. I got all of these examples around me to get inspired, but this was our first EP that
Yeah,
we put
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
And that never hit. So we just put it on streaming a couple months ago just because
Yeah, so
it's never available. um, and yeah, I mean, it was just we worked with him all the way up through during the Maverick stuff too. So, because we were still promoting Eloquence at that point. And
yeah.
yeah, it was a long history. Lots of samplers, lots of lots of that stuff. So
Should we, I guess, Nick alluded to, wanting to get into all these moments and stuff. Should we just kind of at this point go back to the start, bottom line, and just
sure.
go through the history a little bit? And I think there'll be lots of points Nick and I will kind of want to ask questions on, I'm sure. But yeah, so that EP, so when was this? About 25 years ago now?
Yeah, we put it out in, I think it was like November. I put it on streaming because we got the rights back from Jamie in August last year. So I re-released it on the 25th anniversary of when it actually came out. Which back in those days we didn't have like release dates set, and it wasn't like a press release went out. We were in high school or whatever, so it just the date of the release of that album was the day we played the show, the release show. But anyway, that was like November 2000, and it was like a 7-song EP or something. Couple like quick, fast songs. Back in those days, it was like set, whatever. It's probably like a 18-minute record or something. But
sure.
And then we followed up. Essentially, we were still hanging on to a couple of those songs for several years, and just decided to basically re-record them. And at the time, it was like, well, some songs we had grown out of, but then some songs we hadn't recorded for that first record, but it developed over time. So we basically turned the EP into a LP. And so our first full length with Jamie was and with Nice Guy was a kind of a re-release of the EP, but just spruced up,
Was that? I mean, what was like the Cincinnati scene like back in the day? Like, and what point did you kind of start to notice that kind of? Was there any defining moments where you kind of leveled up out of the local scene and into those? Because you did some pretty big tours, didn't you, back in the day with like starting like you mentioned Midtown with Japan in Japan.
Yeah.
And, like, was there a moment where you kind of leveled up?
It was such a slow, steady climb. There wasn't like a moment, but I think there was definitely times when we were like, I mean, we played a lot of, we were fortunate. First of all, the Cincinnati scene was awesome back then. Like the punk rock scene at that time, I'm fully disconnected from it at this point, I feel like, but I still go to shows every so often and stuff. And I love being in a small room with, a couple loud bands. It's definitely a safe place for me, But back then it was awesome. And we would play, there was a couple of like really consistent places that we would play. And back in those days, there was like a laundromat that was a punk venue. And there was like a coffee shop. There's a couple of like places that were like these staple places. And we looked up to Jamie Mandel's band, The Scrubs, who, he owned Nice Guy, but he also put out his own music and stuff.
Sure,
and
sure.
they went to our high school. They were years ahead of us. So there was like a lot of lore about this band called The Scrubs. And so we just aspired to like get on a show with them and be, just interact with them and play the venues they wanted to play and stuff. And after working and kind of recording some songs and putting them out, I remember being asked to start opening for the national shows coming into town. And that's when I started clocking like, oh, obviously we started making friends with bands and playing shows every weekend. I felt like, at this day and age, it's like a band can't play in their hometown more than once every 2 months or something. Otherwise, it's like oversaturation. And I look back at our history of shows, and we played like just seriously like twice a weekend. We played like 5 times a month in Cincinnati. It was crazy. But we opened for Hot Rod Circuit a lot when they came into town. We opened the first Dashboard Confessional headlining show in Cincinnati, which was a weird pairing, but just whatever. Obviously, you're going to say yes to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, stuff like that. Like we like opened for something corporate, or we opened for like just whenever the band came through, like we were one of the touchstone go-to bands to open. And that's when I started going like, all right, cool. This would be great if we could like get out of Cincinnati. You know what I mean? We had the Cincinnati scene sort of locked down, and then after it's just, we were always indie though. Like we didn't have a booking agent ever really. Like we had a very small couple of partnerships with some independent booking agents, but like everything was like, I booked almost 99% of our shows throughout the year. So it was hard, to convince people to put you on a tour or, whatever, especially when you didn't really have much to show for it as far as like sales or data. Like we've never been to your city before. I've never been to Baltimore. Can you put us on a show? Like we were playing, our first tours were like playing on back decks of people's houses, and I just VFW halls, or just where, we were playing like the most random shit. Like
Right.
one time we went to Valparaiso, Indiana, and apparently Show Off, who's from Chicago, was supposed
Chicago,
to
yeah.
be headlining that show. And we showed up, and they were like, "Oh, Show Off's definitely not playing this show." Like this is like somebody lied, and or thought they booked this band, and then yeah, we ended up just like playing on a deck at the back of the venue was locked. No one was letting us in, and there was like two or three other bands that showed up, and there started to be some cars of kids showing up, and there was like 20 or 30 kids. And then somebody was just like, "Hey, I have a sound system in our van or something." And somebody just put up a cheap PA, and we played like literally on the back deck of this closed venue. Like we
Right.
were just very, very like, I don't know, run and gun. Like it was not formal, and it was not methodical. It was just like, let's play as many shows as we can possibly play, go to as many places as we can. And if there's 10 people there, then that qualifies. You know what I mean? So, it was yeah, not a all I don't know, not glorious, from day one.
I was going to say, what were kind of some of the most memorable tours from kind of back in those early days? I know you kind of had a bit of a reputation back then. Were they as crazy as they seemed? Like, what were the tours that stuck out for you?
Did you say Mest?
Mest, yeah.
Yeah. When we were on tour with Mest, I actually because I mentioned real quick, I assisted, studio assisted Feldmann while he was making that Mess record that we then opened for that tour. And so like I had,
Which was that? Sorry to cut in, Ben. Was that Photographs?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
I thought it was in that era.
I did a background vocal on the Photographs, and a different
And
one on that record. I had two
nice.
songs on that record.
And you had Jeremiah on Eloquence as well, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that was way before the Feldmann connection or anything. We were just obviously fans of bands like that. And
Yeah.
I don't know how that came to be. I have no idea how we got Jeremiah on Eloquence. I remember it must have been some sort of emailing or something. We found somebody who had his number. I don't know. It was completely random. We did not have a relationship with him whatsoever. I wasn't even there to record that. I think two of the guys went up to Columbus when Mest was coming through Ohio and tracked that little guest vocal spot. Famously, I guess for whatever reason, he had like a giant knife that he was like singing the parts with. And I don't know. I don't know what the story was. I'm missing pieces of that story. But anyway, so there was like some overlap, over the years. And then when I was out in LA and we were already kind of working with Feldmann, I decided after a tour to just stay in LA. Like I was just like, I just don't really want to go home. My family life was weird at that point, and I just was like, I think I'd rather just kind of like cut my teeth out here and get some practice, like get some more exposure to our producer, and the rest of the guys were anxious to get home. I didn't really have much of a home to get to, so I just was like, hey, would you mind if I just camped out here? And then I think he was just like, yeah, well, I need an assistant, so I'll pay you if you want to basically just live in my back bedroom and work here. And I was just like, perfect. I was just going to stay in a hotel or just do something, but like
Okay.
he hooked me up, and that was really generous of him. And then of course it was working with a band that I like, that I know. And so I got to see sort of the writing process for that record and the ideas being developed there. So by the time we got on tour with Mest, it was sort of kind of written there a little bit, like, oh yeah, obviously there's a Feldmann connection, the Maverick connection, the you were there during the record connection. Like, it was like, yeah, we were the baby band on that bill. And at that point in their career, I don't think that they were very. I mean, this is what they're like their fourth album or something. Like there wasn't much. I think they were kind of formulaic at that point as far as like where they, I don't want to speak for them, but I don't think that they were like partying or we didn't witness any of that kind of like debauchery. It was, but it was cool and collaborative, and they were very supportive of us being on that tour. And when, yeah, I don't know who asked. I don't think I formally was like, hey, can I please sing on your album? That'd be great. It was kind of pitched like, hey, Ben's a good singer. If you guys need background vocals or something, like, because famously those guys like kind of hated being in the studio. Like they like liked it. But like, I think like they were just always kind of like, I don't know, just like not confident about their vocal or not, just kind of like, let's just like run the paces. Like Feldmann, just tell me what I need to do in order to like sing and deliver the part and then get me out of here, kind of thing. I just don't think they were like very like chewing on it and sitting in there for very long. And so I think the idea was, I've got a singer over here who can do harmonies and shit. If you guys are ready to leave, like if you guys want to authorize Ben to do a couple callbacks or something, like he would love to do that. But also he's a vocalist that you guys can go take a break, have a milkshake, and he can go do some vocals or something. So I somehow was just like obviously roped into it, but appreciative of it and excited about it. But they never, that was like very support. They were just like, yeah, he's got a good voice. Great. Like have him come in. It was not like, who's this guy? And, they weren't very protective of their thing. They were very like open and collaborative in that sense. So it was cool.
Well, how did winding back a little bit, how did the Feldmann relationship first come to be?
That's an interesting story, actually. We sent demos to John as the famous, I'm sure a lot of the different bands have mentioned like sending demos or whatever to John or handing him at shows. I mean, he was very like trying to find the next band through his fan base, basically, and
Sure.
And I think we probably handed CDs to John 3 or 4 different times, in person. We would see him at Warped Tour, or we would see, he was signing or something. We would go through the line pretending we wanted to get something signed to be like, oh yeah, and here's our band's record, which like then 4 guys behind me also did the exact same thing.
Of course. Of course.
And so anyway, there was some of that like built up, like we were like, yeah, we really loved the Mest records. I wasn't a huge Goldfinger fan. Like I went to Goldfinger shows and I listened to I obviously knew Goldfinger's catalog and I knew their songs.
Sure,
I just wasn't like a super fan. So just my age and just where we were at, I was more into Mest, just from where I entered the picture.
Yeah.
And then Feldmann was more of a producer figure. He just seemed like the guy that it wasn't somebody that I caught the wave on, like as a musician. I definitely was following him more. As soon as I saw his credit as producer, that's when I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to this record.
Yeah.
And I think I remember seeing The Used, their first music video on MTV or something. And it was a bunch of footage that Feldmann cut together for their first, it was like Box of Sharp Objects or whatever. And it was like a live video and it said directed by John Feldmann. And that's when I was like, oh wait, did he produce that too? Like, cause like, why would John Feldmann be directing a music video for a band if he wasn't involved somehow? And that's when like the Used got on my radar and we were just enamored with everything the guy did. Engineer or bass player of ours wanted to work for John. Like he wanted to be a studio assistant. And there was a calling on Goldfinger's site or John's website or something that said, I'm looking for a new studio assistant. And he sent Eloquence and a very nascent version of that record. It was totally unfinished, unmastered, whatever. And it was just like, hey, here's this record that my band is working on. But I'm engineering it, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm capable. I'm a capable engineer if you want somebody. And yeah, so it was a pitch to work for John, not to sign our band. And then
Right.
I remember we were on Warped Tour and we did a Detroit date. We were going down through Ohio back home because the next day was in Cincinnati. And Greg, who was the bass player of the band, and sent the demo, was driving the van and got a voicemail because we were hauling our gear and sweating our asses off, so we were not checking our voicemails, you know. And we're now coasting down the highway, and he starts freaking out driving the van and like, John Feldmann called me. John Feldmann called me. Oh my God, John Feldmann called me. Anyway, it was very exciting. We veered off the highway and went to go get ice cream to celebrate because we were children. But yeah, it was crazy. He just basically said like, hey, cool, like it's cool that you're an engineer and all, but I've got like local guys that I can use. Like who wrote these songs is basically what his question was, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And so anyway, so yeah, that's kind of where it went. We did a couple back and forths. We sent him some demos, and then and we flew out. Like if that was in August, we probably flew out in October to do a demo. So it went pretty quick, and we didn't talk. I mean, it was like down to business. Like we didn't. I developed the relationship over the time, the exposure, but like there wasn't a let's get to know each other. Like we just we literally landed in LA. Put our stuff in a rental car, drove straight to John's house. We had acoustic guitars in our hand, and we were working on a song. Like it was like, hey, what's up? Here's where we're going to sit right here. We're going to work, and we just got to work in minutes. There was no like introduction. It wasn't like Ben, Dan, Greg, Cliff. Okay, it was like, tell me about you guys. You guys have asked us more questions to say hi and meet each other than Feldmann did when we sat. We just were guitars in hands. Like let's start working. So it was kind of interesting. And we were definitely nervous and starstruck, to say the least.
So you living with him and working as an engineer, is this before tracking the full length with him or other way around?
We did the demo, and which was 3 songs, and we re-recorded She Left Off, which was on Eloquence.
Yep.
And we had written 2 more. We sent a handful, but I think we developed 2 other songs. So we recorded 3. And actually, I think we recorded the beginning stages of a re-recorded version of Nothing Is Real. And that we finished that eventually when we did the full length. But we kind of begrudgingly finished that because I just don't think we were into the new Nothing Is Real with Feldmann. And and it was just one of those things where we're like, well, we already have like the drums recorded or whatever it was. We like had pieces of it kind of recorded. We didn't fully submit that to Maverick, I don't think, as our demo, but we had already tracked some of it. So we were kind of 3.5 songs we recorded as a demo. And then that was in like a fall of 2004, I think. And then we went on tour with Goldfinger in the winter of 2005, and then I did the studio assist in the spring, and then I think we put out Eloquence in May, and then we canceled all of our tours. didn't support Eloquence at all. It was the worst business move of all time because we were looking for a window to record the record with John, and it was like, well, if we don't do this now, we might have to wait, and then ultimately we know what happened is Maverick, basically caved into Warner, and so it got absorbed, and we got caught in all of that. So there was no hope of our record actually coming out, but we probably wouldn't even have gotten to record it if we waited even another month. So it's kind of like one of those things where like, where would our band would have gone to South America? We would have fully supported Eloquence. We already had John's interest in our band. Like, I kind of wonder if we didn't record that summer and we didn't cancel everything.
Yeah.
Would we have been able to parlay that hype into some other deal, like some other way? But once we got in the studio and we did the record, it became a very expensive thing to try to sell elsewhere. Like we were just caught in this, like no one wanted to spend more than $10,000 on a record, and we were asking for over 100 for somebody to buy our masters. That's not what Maverick spent on it, but it's just like it was like no one was interested in that at all.
Well, where did Maverick actually come on board? Did it kind of come part and parcel with John, or was that earlier, or like?
Good question. John was an A&R, like an in-house producer A&R for Maverick. So it was like he had to write a first refusal with Maverick. So he would basically say they would give him money to do demos, carte blanche. Like they were just, hey, write a blank check. You can do demos with any band you want, but you have to show us the demos first. And if we don't want them, you can take them across the hall, which is what happened with the Used. And then after Maverick lost out on the Used and they sold millions of records, then it was like everything Feldmann brought him was like a yes. Like they just signed it and just said, okay, you know, because they just hoped that one of those things was going to be the new Used, you know?
Yeah.
So the proof of concept was the Used in that sort of formula. Obviously there was Mest and there was Show Off before that. And you know, they had a relationship of releasing albums together, but I think the first, obviously the risky one was the Used, and Maverick passed, and then they stopped passing after the Used. So then we got the benefit of a sort of an easy yes to a certain extent. Like we got signed pretty easily after we did the demo because they just had a blind belief in Feldmann. But I don't know that they had a belief in Feldmann. They didn't really have a belief in our band. If that makes sense. Like, I don't know that they were really like, oh, this Bottom Line band, like we've got a diamond in the rough. Like we really have something, a secret weapon. Can't wait to put this album out. Like, I don't even think anyone truly gave a shit about our band at all at that label. We just were one of the Feldmann bands, or one of the, you know, and there was probably 3 or 4 finished masters sitting there that either got released somewhere else or just also got shelved. You know, he probably developed 3 bands a year back then, you know? So it was like, you know, so Maverick wasn't really like, they weren't really like a good team member. They weren't really like weighing in opinions. I think they just kind of was like, whatever Feldmann thought was good enough for them. And, it was tough. I mean, I remember having a lot of tough meetings. We didn't have representation, which again, on one hand, spilling some beans and saying, you know, we don't fully endorse everything that happened during the Feldmann era, but also you have to acknowledge what an awesome opportunity that was, and what like a great, just so many different favors and cool things. I mean, a couple of years ago, I remember when I was young, I met Feldmann when he was 38. So I'm 41 now, but I just turned 41. But like when I turned 38, it dawned on me. I was like, man, I met Feldmann when he was 38. So I was just thinking about like, what would it be like to be like, letting a kid that's like 20 years old live with me and like give him advice and coach him and like, you know, like, but you know, all that kind of stuff, like just like pay for all of his food and room and board and like all this. I was like, this is like pretty incredible, you know, like, and just took a massive chance on our band. And like, there's a lot of really amazing things that I'm thinking back now and being like, with the clarity of hindsight and also age, I fully appreciate so many things, but at the same time, there's definitely some bad advice, you know, like that didn't vibe with our band, and we were explicitly told, do not get a manager.
Really?
In no, you know, uncertain terms, do not get a manager before we make this record. And now that I know that. I know that he was trying to not have another cook in the kitchen, and he wanted to do whatever he wanted to do with us. And he didn't want us having another expert that kind of, I think, was in the room to sort of guide and advise. I think he wanted to be the guider and the advisor, which I get and I understand to a certain extent. But when we delivered the record, we were floundering completely out. We had nothing. We had no, you know, we were basically at that point, Feldmann moved on to the next band and he was doing this, and he signed with, you know, Maverick was folding and he signed with Warner, and we were just like stuck with a very expensive album that nobody wanted to buy.
Oh man.
And it was, so we were shopping for, we buddied up with a couple different managers over that year, but nothing ever really fully clicked. It was tough because we were trying to make up for lost time at that point. So
yeah, I guess the wind must have really been knocked out your sails, I guess, at that point, like as well, like with everything that goes on with the relationships in Maverick, while trying to actually sell this record elsewhere. Like, yeah.
It was wild. I mean, there's things that you carry with you, right? Like this little moments of joy and disappointment that just there's sitting on my shoulder, like little albatrosses of just like oh yeah, remember when that was so cool, and then remember that, man, that was such a bummer. But I remember like there's so many times making and working on the album with Feldmann that boosted my confidence, and then so many times we were just like knocked down. Like one time somebody was fluffing us up and saying, well, when looking at where we were at that time in that process of making the album and saying, this time next year, you'll be, if it's anything like the story of the year, and if it's anything like this, if it's anything like that, you guys are going to be on a bus next year. You're going to be hosting TRL. Yeah. You're going to be like, everyone was like saying, you're the next Famo band. Like, you're going to blow up, and like really giving us a lot of like ego and confidence to for it to amount to nothing. It was a lot of like, I mean, so I don't know if you guys know that we worked with the Good Charlotte twin. We worked with the Madden twins on a couple songs.
Yeah.
We did fully deliver an album to Maverick. And I think looking back, they were trying to stave off having to admit that they weren't going to release our album. I think that's kind of what was actually going on behind the scenes, because they knew what was imminently happening in the industry. But we were told basically we don't have a single, we don't have a lead single, and we need to continue writing. We didn't get to choose like who we would co-write with, or what we would do, or if we had new songs that we could develop to put new ideas. Basically it was like, you've got budget for 2 more songs, so we're going to go back in, or we're going to start over at the end of the summer. We're going to write or record 2 whole new songs.
Yeah.
Basically, suddenly the Madden twins are in the room, and it was like, hey, you guys are going to write with the Maddens, and we're
I
just
suppose
gonna...
that was when I'm not sure that they're tight anymore, but those were the days when John was tight with them, I guess,
Yeah. And I don't actually know what kind of fallout they might have had or what, but But yeah, I mean, there was definitely a working relationship there that he was going to utilize, and obviously it was low hanging fruit, because like it was the people are all already guests in his house all the time, and so it was just like, but it wasn't like, hey, here's the top 5 people we could call upon to co-write with or whatever. Like it was just like, you're going to work with the twins, and it was so we were just kind of like, okay, sure. I mean, I don't know if that would be my number one choice, but sure. Yeah, we're at this point, there were so many important songs on that record to me at the time as a songwriter. I was like, if I have to wedge in some weird co-write in order to get this album out, then people are going to hear track 5, which is what I really care. You know what I mean? So I was willing to basically just say yes to things, just because I was like, I had a vision for what I ultimately wanted to see happen with our band. So it was like, I was willing to like take a turn in a direction I wasn't fully endorsing in order to qualify all the other effort that we had already done and put in.
Okay.
How
was that?
It was
interesting. Okay.
We did 2 songs. The song that ultimately ended up like showing Maverick that we had a final album was called Trainwreck.
Oh, okay. I remember that song. I remember you had it on your MySpace. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. It's amazing. First of all, let me just say, it's amazing that you guys have any idea about anything that I'm talking about. I mean, I'm like baffled that you know the songs or anything.
My girlfriend, she's a train wreck. That was the chorus.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So, and that was a Joel, line, and so Benji had the riff, then some version of that riff.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the song, and then Joel had like the chorus sort of idea and but it was whatever. I have no skin in the game anymore, so I'll just say what I need to say. But
Sure.
it's just like I remember sitting down and we would write songs like about our experiences, about our life, about where we were at. I wrote a song on that record about which I put out on my solo album that I put out a year or two ago. I did like an acoustic record where I kind of the lost toys of all of my catalog. I just kind of put them out together.
I was listening to that recently. I had no idea that it was some leftover
Connected.
bottom line stuff. But yeah, we'll come to that. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no. So there's a song on the Maverick Feldmann record that I re-recorded for my solo record called Rhythm, and that song was very, very, very personal to me. Just juxtapose what was going on like in the Maverick years. It was like I had this song that was about my family was going through a divorce, selling my childhood home. I'm out in LA recording, and I had nowhere to go back home to. Like I literally boxed all my stuff up, put it in cardboard boxes with tape on it, and I took my suitcase to LA to go record. And it was like, I don't know where I'm going after this, essentially. And like my family was well off. I didn't want for many things when I was young. I was very privileged in that sense. But when I say what I'm about to say, I mean it literally. I was homeless at that point. Like I didn't have a place to go. And in between tours and stuff, when I was like living in LA, I would like just stay with the band members. It's like I was just kind of couch surfing for a little bit. But again, that's not to say I was destitute or anything. Like I was fine. But yeah, I'm writing songs about like what a sea change was happening in my life, and like my parents' divorce and all these this dichotomy of like joy and sorrow, happening in my life. And then we're sitting down with the twins to write a song. And the impetus for the song is people like the word girlfriend. So we're going to write a song that has the word girlfriend as the first line of the chorus. That's not how I write songs. That's just not how I put ideas together. I kind of feel into the work instead of work into some sort of meaning, and so I don't know. It's a good song. I will say I wish that Good Charlotte would have taken it and just I would have had like 10% of a Good Charlotte song instead of them having 80% of a bottom line song. It just like we developed that song and did all these different things. And I remember coming back into Feldmann's, and one day he goes, we talked about it. It's going to be 80-20. And I was like, 80-20. Like, I was like, oh, cool. We get 80% of the song. Like, I was like, that's a crazy, awesome like, that's very generous of you to give us 80% of a song for a co-write with like famous songwriters. And he's like, no, 80 us, you 20. I was like, wow. Okay.
And how did you react?
I reacted like not going to work for me. So I said we need more, or we're not putting it on the album. Basically, I think as far as we got the negotiation, it ended up being like 70-30 or something like that. Like it didn't go much further, but it was basically like everything was like being held hostage for us. It was like, well, if you don't put the song on the album, Maverick's not going to produce or not going to release the album ever. So like, you might as well say yes to this. Everything was just like kind of like painting us into a corner and being like, well, what's the alternative? Everybody just kept saying, well, if you don't do this, what would happen? And then we just kept getting scared into saying yes, at every turn. So I always appreciated that song Trainwreck was catchy as fuck. Yeah. And I thought it was great. And it was going to do something great for our band. But at the end of the day, it did not represent our band at all. It did not originate from our band. It did not, like, I think we found a little bit of meaning and overlap in some of it, but I was sitting there, I had to write all the lyrics to the verse, or most of the lyrics to the first verse, all the lyrics to the second verse, wrote the bridge. We fleshed out the rest of the chorus and how we would play it versus like how Good Charlotte was sort of recommending we play it. And we did everything we could to try to like carve ourselves into the song. Like we really tried to manifest bottom line into there. And it was, I ultimately don't think it worked. Like it always seemed like a foreign thing. It seemed like a cover song to me. I never really felt like we were playing our own tune. And when we would play, so we went on tour with Master Goldfinger, whoever, after we had written Trainwreck, and we would get off stage and people would come up and be like, "Oh, my girlfriend's a train wreck. Like, they'll love that." Like, trying to, like, basically saying like, "Where can I buy the Trainwreck song?" So I knew that it was like, it was about to be a hit,
Yeah.
If it had formally, yeah. And it was just one of those things like, "Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, that's on this one. That's on this sampler here. You can buy it." But like, it's all the while secretly going like, "Man, I really can't wait till the rest of this stuff comes out, because I really don't want to be known for this."
Yeah.
Like,
so well, yeah, and great records are records that tell a story and tell a story of that artist and that band, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
so is the rest of this shelved record, is it quite different from that song? Because I think that, to my knowledge, the only things that really saw the light of day were that song and the reworking of was it She Left Off or Nothing Is Real that
was She Left Off, yeah. And actually, if you give me a second, I have the sampler of the Maverick. We toured. The only thing that like is evidence that we were ever on Maverick or ever had anything to do with it is this sampler that we put out and we went on tour with. And so we had Today, and then those other two songs. And then
Today, that was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's the little Maverick logo there. And it was the only thing. And I remember going in and just fighting to get any sort of movement on our band. And I went in by myself to have a meeting at Maverick Records. Again, no manager, nothing. Just this guy that they don't even know walks in there, and I had the artwork drawn up for this already. A buddy of mine did the art, and so I like had it all ready. And I was just like, "Hey, we're gonna go on tour. We're self-funding tours. We're doing this. We networked ourselves into a mess thing. We networked ourselves into this." And I was like, "If we could please just get like 1,000 samplers for free, that way, like somebody like that people can like sort of sense that maybe this is like an actual thing. That this is really gonna happen for us." So anyways, so we wedged out this sampler, and that's the only real evidence that we were on, Maverick. But I think, yes, to answer your question, it was a bizarre album. I think it was not the right move. I've sort of like gone back and done a revisionist history mental experiment myself, when I kind of like look back at all of our demos, the ones that I have, still cataloged. And I think we could have made a really cool, like almost All American Rejects meets like we wanted to be like fighting for that adult contemporary, like Jimmy Eat World, Switchfoot, Dare You to Move kind of, what I mean? Like we wanted to be like on every radio station. We wanted to be like in the elevator, like when you're going into your hotel room. We wanted our song to be like so pervasive that like it was like whatever, ever present, we had delusions of grandeur that we were going to be this like band that was on every channel,
Yeah.
But and to that end, I think I was delivering a lot of like unique ideas that weren't pop punk songs, and I think we started the process by saying, let's comb over some of these Eloquence ideas. Let's re-record a couple songs from that track list, and then let's develop songs and make you guys the next Newfound Glory, or make you guys the next. I mean, obviously we loved Blink-182, so it was like whatever our Mount Rushmore was that we told him, we were like, we want to be the next that. And then we started getting a little too close to like Mest, like the sound of like kind of like the way that the drums were being sort of arranged and stuff, which really was not vibing with our drummer. There's a lot of things that kind of like were getting a little watered down in the interest of either time, like let's just get through this, and I know what's best, so let's just like move on as quick as we can to the next idea, instead of like, and maybe our band overthought a lot of things and overworked a lot of things, but I really felt like we weren't really like living in these ideas for very long and like developing them. And then when Feldmann got excited about something, even if it was a kind of a weird idea, like for instance, that song Rhythm that I mentioned before, like Feldmann, like I wasn't nailing the vocal on that, and he like put his head in his hands, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm fired." Like like he doesn't want to work with our band. He thinks we suck, and he goes, "This song is so fucking good." And like when he like, and I was like,
okay,
"Oh shit!" Like,
yeah.
So I was always on. I just didn't. I didn't. I wasn't sure what we were doing in there, and I don't know if he knew what we were doing, but I think it was like, may the best song win. So whatever the best, coolest idea came through the pipeline, that's what we chose to work on. And at the end of it, it was a very confused effort. There wasn't like a leading narrative or like producing style or anything. Like it was like, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 different albums. And there was a pop punk album in there. But four of those songs were punk or like,
Yeah.
pop, power pop, but then we had these songs that were like, yeah, like almost like a couple like jazzy kind of songs, and we had they had like a swing kind of song that was like, I mean, I think a lot of times we were writing into what we knew Feldmann could handle, right? So like,
Yeah.
we loved the used In Love and Death. There's a song, I can't remember what it's called, Lunacy Fringe, I think, on the use, and just that whole like, it's going to be like cha 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 cha, just that like a whole like, oh, this is like a weird like circus, And we were like, I don't know, I think we were just like looking around and being like, okay, we entered this trying to be Newfound Glory, but like, or the next, big pop punk band. But like now we're looking around and I'm seeing My Chemical Romance is getting big, like Fall Out Boy is getting big, like all these bands that were kind of like taking weirder chances and doing things and being a little bit more edgy. And so I think our way to be edgy, because we weren't fully confident in going like rock and like being like, I mean, like Say It Soon was getting big, or like some of these other bands were like Under Oath was blowing up. And that always scared us because we were like, we can't compete with that because that's not what our band sounds like, but that's what everybody wants to listen to. So I think our like knee-jerk reaction to be weird was to write like weird, mature, adult contemporary, like complicated music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did not make sense for our band. I'm fully aware of that now. But so I don't know that our legacy would have really like, we would have ended up being like the Trainwreck band. Obviously, I don't know if we would have survived like much after that, truthfully.
Right.
And so I don't know. I really wish people had heard there's a song on there called Crazy. That wasn't on here, no. No, so today Trainwreck she left off. I don't even know my own band history, but there's a song called Crazy, which we were like, this is going to be on, like, do you remember the show The OC?
Of course.
It was okay. That was one of our goals as a band, was like, oh, Yellow Card debuted their single on the OC. So all these different things were around the OC. So we wrote a song and I was like, that's our OC song. Like, that's what's going to get us on,
And that was Crazy.
That was Crazy. Yeah. Okay. And that's a song. So Today and Crazy, I think, were the best examples of the Feldmann record where we locked in and we had a good, like, every member of the band, like, really contributed. It wasn't like I wedged this idea into the format. And then unfortunately, predominantly the songs that we recorded for that were songs I wrote. So I'm the one to blame for like how just kind of disconnected and weird it was. But we were just literally throwing everything at the wall and being like, what will stick? What will Feldmann be excited about? And we weren't really thinking about like what's best for the longevity of our band, or what's best for like the follow-up to Eloquence. And now I listen to it. Like one time I was coming home from a fest in Pittsburgh and I was like, just had a long highway drive and I was listening to everything Bottom Line from day one, and I got to just end of Eloquence, Autograph, start the Feldmann record, and I was like, no, like bad move. It was just a weird time, man. We were competing with a lot of weird things then. So
did you ever have a name for the record? And I guess where is that record now? Is it just held to ransom via Warner, or like?
Yeah, it's in a Warner Brothers vault somewhere, the hard drive with our masters on it. But I have obviously like MP3s of it, you know. But like,
We'd
it's
love to
not
hear it if you can share it unofficially and
yeah, I can
confidence.
definitely unofficially share it, but for sure. And there's so many things on there I'm really proud of, and then there's like a lot of things that are really cringy, and I'm really glad don't exist anymore.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're able to, yeah, we'd love to hear that. But I'm just conscious of the time, and like, should we just talk a little bit about obviously where the music officially stopped for you, the Eloquence that you're proud of, and you've just released the anniversary version of that.
Yeah.
What's the reception to that been like? And
That's
there's been some
cool.
fun extra tracks on that.
Yeah, there wasn't much. Like I kind of had in my mind maybe we would, yeah, in a perfect world we would re-record a song now, like, and just see like what's it like now, But we've
Yeah,
grown we've grown estranged from Greg, our bass player, the guy that actually was the
the original
Feldmann
connection.
demo. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've grown estranged from him. I reached out to him when I started the Instagram account, just to like bury the hatchet and say, let's share memories. Let's, whatever. And that just didn't really go anywhere. And I'm just respecting his boundaries. So he doesn't want to talk to us and we just don't talk, I guess.
Fair
But
enough. Okay.
but Dan, Cliff, who was our drummer during that time, was with me in my next band, Pluto Revolts, after that, on and off for probably another decade after Bottom Line. So Cliff and I had a good working relationship and a friendship that lasted. And then Dan and I, the two lead singer songwriters,
Sure.
Dan and I are pretty close. Like I just saw him at a birthday party for another friend like a couple weekends ago. We're in good, we're in good spirits.
And obviously you've been releasing the clips with him
on
the Instagram as well.
Yeah. So like, yeah, obviously everybody knows we're cool because we did that together. But yeah, I was just thinking like if the stars align, we could really go back to that well and kind of maybe retrace some of those songs and kind of do it like we would do it today, like, with all of our current influences or something, kind of reimagine some of the songs. But it just like with time and everything, it just didn't really pan out that way. And we've been long talking about a reunion show, and it's just Cliff just had his second child. It's just like there's just like things, like, and best laid plans. But yeah, I think basically what I wanted to do was just like crack this thing back open and basically say, because I rejected it once I started Pluto Revolts about 2008. There's like and a lot of those ideas on my first it was really a solo project to start out, but it was several songs that were Bottom Line demos.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so I think the first song on my the Pluto Revolts EP called Suffer No Delusions was lived on the Bottom Line MySpace page for a while. It's called Bed and Nails, because my bass player Greg and I produced a lot of demos, like just thinking we were going to get it. We're trying to pick up the pieces after the Maverick thing fell through.
Yeah.
So and then basically it just like wasn't picking up momentum. So I just took it and released it myself. But they were intended to be Bottom Line songs. Like we wanted to keep making music together. So I just thought I immediately turned away from it and thought, pop punk's not my jam. I don't want to be known for either the train wreck guy or the whatever guy. I was just like, I'm just gonna do some other things in some other areas of sound.
Sorry to interject. Was it? I was talking to Nick Thompson, from Hit the Lights the other day.
Yeah.
And I told him that we're having you on the show. So he said to say hello, by the way. But
yeah,
he was it you who almost joined them as the singer, or was it Dan? Because he's told me before that there was a point. I guess this coincided with like the Feldmann thing not working out and stuff, and then their original singer leaving, and there was a moment. Was it you who almost joined them?
Yeah, it was me. Actually, I was thinking about that as I was getting ready this morning to do this with you guys, because I was looking back at all the guests you've had, and I think of myself as like so just like disconnected from everything and not a part. Like it was just like this. I had this unrequited rock career, like it was just like I just never really did all the things I wanted to do. I did some cool stuff, but not all the, glory that a lot of these other artists that you have on here. For instance, it's like well, Mess has been on the show, or like I don't know. I was going back through. I was like, oh yeah, I know him, or yeah, we toured with them, or yeah, I did, you know,
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot of
Yeah.
connections in your guest list. But yeah, so they parted ways with their singer right in that weird moment after a Maverick, but before I started Pluto Bolts. Excuse me. And it was cool. I wanted to be in a band. Obviously, I wanted to do stuff. I wanted to go on tour. And it seemed like something that was adjacent to Bottom Line. Like it was like we were both from Ohio. We both played pop punk and that kind of thing.
Sure.
And it just seemed like but where I was in my career, I wasn't exactly producing pop punk music anymore. Like I had, especially after the Feldmann stuff, and then the stuff that I was kind of developing, which ultimately you can listen to as Pluto or my solo stuff or whatever. And they, you know, there's no bad blood here because like I adore those guys. I thought those guys were awesome. When I was hanging out with them and like practicing with them and stuff, they needed a guy to sing, and I was like, sure, yeah, this seems like a no-brainer. I loved hanging out with them. Like they just were great guys to hang out with. And I was like, this is like going to be, if we go on tour, this is gonna be like the funniest tour ever. Like we're just gonna laugh the whole fucking time. This is gonna be great. But yeah, they just were writing songs that, and it was for the Skip School record, I think it was called. We started talking, and he was like, yeah, we love Jimmy Eat World. We'd really love to do like, I think Futures had come out recently or something. And it was like, yeah, we kind of want to do like, we want to elevate ourselves and kind of go like a Jimmy Eat World route. And that's like one of those things that's like, you can't say Jimmy Eat World to me because like now I'm automatically hooked. Like I love Jimmy Eat World. So I was like, yeah. That's like kind of what I've been trying to do is like grow up out of the pop punk stuff and like be like an elevated, like, you know, I don't know how to describe it. I'm using terrible language here. I can't form a thought. I haven't had enough of my coffee, but yeah, anyways. And then they were showing me just like pop punk song after pop punk song after pop, you know what I mean? And I was just like, I just thought we were doing something different, you know? Cause like they already they wrote the album. Like we weren't writing an album together. Like they already basically had the rhythm, you know, going. And it was just like, here's what we think would the lyrics be. Here's what like it was kind of already written. And I was like, not really getting a word in to like influence the album. And Nick knows what he wants. Like he's obviously fully capable of doing that. So I don't know why he wanted another singer when it was like very obvious that like it was his project that he, you know, all of the songs that they were developing, it was inevitable that he was going to sing those songs.
Right.
In my opinion. But yeah, we were just not coming to terms. Like I was like, really, you guys want to do like this? Just sounds like Newfound Glory. Like it's like literally like it could be a track on a Newfound Glory record. Like I want to hear the Hit the Lights stamp. Like I want to hear like, yes, I want you guys to be able to tour with Newfound Glory, but not as like a clone. You know what I mean? I want you guys to like play. And I think they found that eventually. Where now they have their own personality established and they are a unique band. But at the time I was really sensitive to like sounding like something that already existed, you know? And it was just a weird time in my life, in my career where I just wasn't really vibing with that. But that sucked because I had to say goodbye to what I thought was developing into like a really cool relationship. I was really excited about possibly like touring with them or recording. So it was short lived. I mean, but it was short and sweet. It was like a couple months. I think we were back and forth, did a couple practices, and then we just had to say bye. You know, it's not a big deal. It happens.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. I mean, is it worth just touching on your solo stuff briefly as well? Obviously, you mentioned that there was some of the lost songs that you re-released as part of your solo record a couple of years ago. How many are in that from the record?
I think 2 songs from the album that I put out called Vestiges are just directly from the Bottom Line record. The song called Parody and a song called Rhythm.
Rhythm, yeah.
I'm writing these down.
So Parody was the closing track on the Feldmann record.
Okay.
And then Rhythm was kind of in the middle. I think Rhythm was like, it wasn't really a ballad on the record, because we did have a ballad on the Feldman record that Dan wrote. It was just, yeah, it was just one of those songs. It was visceral. Like I needed to make that song at that point in my life. And I just never had a project. I mean, Bottom Line was not the project for that song. And I don't know what project that song belonged, and that's why it just sat on a shelf for forever and never really got readdressed. And so Vestiges was just a way to kind of like, just put out all these homeless ideas. And yeah, some of the other ones were just like, one of them was a work for hire. Like I did a commercial one time, and they didn't use the song, so then it just sat around unused. And a couple songs that weren't Feldman songs but were developed as Bottom Line songs, like the first song on the record called Ashamed was we performed that as Bottom Line for Columbia when we were trying to get a post Maverick deal.
Really?
So
okay,
lots of like Bottom Line, it's everywhere in my life. It's all over my bookshelf behind me. Like it's just, there's relics everywhere. And I like I said, once I kind of rejected it, and was like, I'm more than this. And now I'm like very proud of it. So I'm like way less, I mean, I'm not only am I not shying away from it, I'm putting a spotlight on it. So, yeah, I appreciate the audience, honestly. And I'm excited that you guys found the music ever and cared ever.
Yeah, man. And it's been a fun one for me to have moments with since. Like my friendship with DJ Rostar is largely shaped around Bottom Line, who I know that you know. And also, I know you're aware of this because you shared the clip, but our friend Rishi, who runs Four Chord Festival in Pittsburgh, like, because he was on this show and him and I were just talking about obscure bands, and then he casually mentioned Bottom Line, thinking I wouldn't know, and then lost his mind that I did as well. So he's a huge fan as well.
That was amazing. I'm sorry I missed that in real time. Here I am this year now going back and finding like, wait, there's a YouTube clip of these guys just gushing over Bottom Line. That's so awesome. Yeah, I've never met him or his band or anything, but listened to that episode with you guys, and it definitely seems like we're all just like kindred spirits and have all the same interests and all the same tastes, and just
for sure.
live in totally different areas, but probably would hang out regularly if we all
for sure.
Yeah. Well, you've got the festival connection as well now, haven't you? You're working on
I was listening to him talk about that and just being like, if he needs a freelancer to coordinate something, I'm his guy. But it was cool. It was very cool to find out all these the connective tissue, especially in looking at your guest history. We toured a lot with Over It and Don't Look Down. So I saw Nick is his name, right, on there.
Yeah, Peter as well has been on a couple of times.
Nick Bailey.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun, man. I really like sharing these old memories and having a place to put them, and just starting we existed way before social media. I mean, MySpace was was the first and last social media that Bottom Line never really worked. And yeah, so it's just like all of our accomplishments and stuff that we did are just, they don't exist unless I talk about them. So yeah, it's really cool that there's anyone that's like, yo, Nothing Is Real is my jam. It's like, holy shit, that's cool. I don't know anybody cared about that, but I did, but I don't know you found Bottom Line from Pop Punk Fever.
That's right. Yeah.
But that would have been In and Out of Luck era, because I think was the song "Push Me Away" was on there. But what happened after? Like you followed the band then, so your relationship to like Eloquence, and then knowing that we got signed is all just through like following us on our website or following Nice Guys like news page and stuff like that.
Yeah, pretty much. I think. Because I remember learning about the Feldman thing, but I'd been aware of you guys for a few years then and thinking, oh, that's amazing. They're going to be Feldman's next project. That's, so as a fan, that was exciting to experience that. Cause I remember Yeah, it would just be like following you guys on Pure Volume and your website, and then later MySpace. And I do remember getting like a hard copy of Eloquence when it came out, but obviously that was a little bit later. So,
Yeah.
05 or whatever that was. Yeah, and the other big thing I remember happening was, obviously, I know you guys have posted about this on your Instagram, but when I think was it Dan who was on the Mark Hoppus podcast? I don't think it was you. Yeah, but because I remember it was weird because Hoppus had a thing which was like, I'm going to speak to an unknown obscure band, and I thought it'd be like, the kind of band level that we were at the time. And he was like, "Oh, it's Bottom Line," but I was like, "Bottom Line, they're already kind of famous." But so it was. I remember hearing that, and it was cool. And I listened to it back on your Instagram post, and it was funny to hear all these years later.
Yeah, that was something I actually kind of forgot about until I was looking back through, the archives and thinking things I saved in my iTunes and stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, we talked to one of our idols. How did I not?
Yeah.
That's like, again, they're on our Mount Rushmore of like inspiration bands that we always idolized. And I'm like, one of us talked to one of them, man. Why did we not, like, that should have been pinned on our, one of our coolest things that we did. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that was a weird time. And I honestly never really thought, because we were just self-booking and self-managing, and so a lot of that stuff, even throughout the Maverick stuff, we were just so DIY that it was a lot of struggle throughout that time, to get seen and get heard and get our music out there and get ourselves out there. And so that there was anybody else around the world that was like, oh, Bottom Line, they're not a basement band, they're on tour and stuff. And it was like, for us, we were just like, when are we going to stop being a basement band and like actually like do something? You know what I mean? Like when's our calling? And when, even throughout the Maverick stuff, it never felt real. We felt like imposters. It just felt like this isn't really happening. And like, and then when it actually ultimately never happened, the album never came out. It was just like, I should have known better. Like I knew this wasn't going to happen. Because I don't think it's humility, because like I am humble to an extent, but we had a massive ego back then. But I just think maybe it was our ego that kind of held us back a little bit, in the sense that we were just like, we're better than this. We deserve more than this. We never were satisfied with what we had. And, maybe we could have enjoyed it a little bit more, and maybe saw a little bit of the right path to take if we weren't constantly disappointed, quote unquote. But there was definitely some stuff that like we got caught in that was not our fault, but anyway, very cool that you were out there following. It's amazing. Honestly, it's really cool. I'm honored.
Well, we appreciate you. Maybe that feels like a good time to wrap this up, because you've given us more than an hour of your time, which we massively appreciate.
You know what? I will, if you have any last questions, I am in no rush at all. And I love talking about music. So if there's anything else that you wanted to ask me, that's all good. But I respect your time. So more than an hour seems like enough, Bottom Line. Yeah.
No, it's been great to hear your story, Ben. No, it really has, especially those Feldmann years. And, we've spoken to a lot of people who work with Feldmann over the years, and there's so many different stories about him personally, and some people love to work with him, some people struggle to work with him as well. So it's kind of, it's always good to hear their experiences.
It's one of the, I oscillate between whether or not I want to say what I truly think or what I want to be politically correct. Again, with that whole thing, I go back and forth between like, Feldmann and I do not talk anymore. Thinking back on the process of making the album and where we were, like just hanging out in his, hot tub out in his backyard and just talking about life and talking about music and talking about where our band would go and talking about where he was at and what he wanted to do with his producing career. And like, we like opened up. I mean, one time, because I was living there, so I was kind of like his like assistant. I was kind of just like wherever he went, I kind of went, or did an errand, I would go pick up guitars for him, or I would go do whatever. Or just basically barking orders at me. And sometimes I was making nachos and milkshakes for the band, but sometimes I was like working on microphone placement, and sometimes I was running an errand. And one time he he was like, I'm gonna go get a massage down the street. I'm just like feeling achy or whatever. He's like, you want to go? And I was like, hey man, I don't know if I like, how much is it? Like, I don't know if I want to pay like $100 for this massage or this whatever, this spa. And he was like, no, man, I got it. You know, it's fine. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. So like we went and like had like hour-long massages and then just like sat in the like steam room thing, like both of us completely naked, just like hanging out, just like dudes being dudes, like just in this spa. And I was like, I'm hanging out with John Feldmann, completely butt-ass naked, like just talking about life and just like having a bro to bro moment and whatever. And it was like, there's like otherworldly like experiences that I'm just like, it's just so cool that he brought me along into his life, into his lifestyle, and ushered me into that whole thing. It did not gatekeep that at all. And then certain things where I'm just like, I was literally in tears working with him, you know, like at certain points, like I was like literally crying, and like like Feldmann is making me feel bad about myself. He's making me feel bad about my playing. He's making me feel bad about my songwriting. He's making me, he made fun of me with, the manager for My Chemical Romance. They were all listening to our, because we were searching for a manager at one point.
Yeah.
And they were saying that I tucked in my shirt at a show and how lame it was that I tucked in my shirt. And I was like, I didn't tuck in my shirt. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and it was like this like senior in high school, freshman kind of dynamic where like he would be like, as soon as he got somebody to kind of like poke holes or poke fun at somebody, he like really leaned into it. And like, and it was like, okay, cool. I thought you were trying to get us signed by this guy, but now you're like collectively making fun of me, like in front of me. Like, what the hell? It's just a lot of that kind of weird stuff where it's like, we ended, I will say publicly, I have no bad, I have nothing but gratitude for what Feldmann did for our band. But I've gotten older now, and I understand that certain people are good for certain things. Like Feldmann was totally appropriate to produce a lot of the songs that we produced on that record. And then certain songs I kind of wonder like, man, could that have been better in somebody else's hands? I don't know. Or maybe if there was a different captain at the ship, maybe they would have said, maybe if we had a manager, they would have said, we're going to contact John Feldmann to produce a quarter of this album, and he's going to do the singles, or he's going to do this, and then you guys can go with this other. Like nowadays, everything is so piecemeal and kind of like puzzle piece together. Back then, it was like all or nothing. It was like you're with Feldmann, and if he doesn't agree with something, it's not going on the album. And yeah, everything was just so absolute. And I don't think that it was a perfect marriage stylistically at the end of the day. Although I don't want to write off how good it worked when it worked, right? Like there's certain things that worked so well. And then when Maverick disappeared, we didn't have a home, and we were trying very hard to get a new home base, and we got a manager on our own accord, and he was asking around and whatever. This is when we showcased for Columbia. And the advice that we were given at that point was our album was probably a year or so old, and it was expensive. And everybody that was going to sign us, if Columbia, let's just say hypothetically, was going to sign us today, they would want us to produce a new album from here. They don't want us to retrace the old album. Sure. And so that got back to Feldmann. Feldmann called me. I was at my mom's house. I remember very vividly. And he was like, I can't believe you're not going to use this album that we made. And I was like,
right.
I don't have any say in this, sir. I'm like, I would love for that album to have come out. I would love for it to have come out 2 years ago, but I don't know what to tell you. I mean, our advice is we're being given advice to go this other direction. Meanwhile, you've been off. You've signed a new production deal with Warner, and you're producing new bands, and he hasn't checked in on us in 6 months, you know? And, but all he cared about was that his album wasn't coming out, right? Like his album, like it looked like, I think in his mind, like, I don't want to speak for him, but maybe in his mind, it was like, well, that was a failure on his record too. Like, oh, well, I got an album that's shelved. How? I'm a valuable producer. I don't get albums shelved. I get them released, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And ultimately no one was buying. And I think that offended him. And I think he took it out on us for some reason. Like we were at 20 years old, like I had any say in any of this stuff. So then I remember he asked what I was doing, and I sent him some Pluto stuff, and then I never heard from him again. And I asked him, I went out to LA, just on my own just for fun. And I went out to LA and I hit him up. It was years and years and years later. And I was like, is this still John Feldmann's number? Like, this is Ben from Bottom Line. Like, after everything you did, paid for so many meals, paid for so many coffees, paid for whatever. Like, I'd love to take you out to lunch. I'd love to whatever. I just want to bury the hatchet and say hi. And I think he was working with 303 at that moment. Three. Was it 303? What's the band that it was like a huge teeny bopper kind of?
Do you mean the 5 Seconds of Summer?
5 Seconds of Summer. Why did I say 303? Yeah, sorry. I knew you guys would know what I was talking about. So he was working with 5 Seconds of Summer at that point. And he was like, yeah, you can come up to the studio or something. And I was like, okay, cool.
Okay.
Like the studio at whatever address. And he was like, no, we're up in such and such. I don't work there anymore. I'm up somewhere else. And I was like, okay. I don't know where that is. So like, if you can just like send me some details and whatever, I don't want to barge in, but I was like, if I'm coming and you guys are working in the studio, I'll bring coffees for everybody. Like I was like hopping back into my assistant mode. Like I was like, I'll bring coffees for the whole team. Like, whatever. Like, I'll bring lunch to you guys. Like I was like trying to just like, let's just like reboot. And I just like want to get 5 minutes to just say thank you for everything that was pleasurable about the experience working with you. And he just like, it was like unanswered text message, and it was just like, he kept pushing, okay, Tuesday, right now, Friday. And then I had to leave town. At some point I just texted, I was like, hey man, like, sorry, it didn't work out. I guess like, I don't know what happened, but maybe next time I'm in town, maybe next time, and it just, that was it. So I like that one phone call about our album, and then me kind of reaching out and trying to like, maybe meet up with him when I was in LA that one time. And then that's it. He's never reached out again. No one's ever talked to each other. And like, I don't know. It just ended on a weird note. Like, it's just like for how close we were, there must be some weird unanswered feeling there that like, I can't resolve on my own. Like it takes two to tango. So I'm like, what I mean? Like, it was a cool experience, but also like some kind of stuff was a little fucked up, and it just is what it is. But we're all older now. And I feel like for the most part, the Bottom Line guys have all just kind of like moved on with our lives and don't harbor any resentment. And I kind of wish that we like had some sort, I could tag Feldmann and be like, haha, but like, it's just, it doesn't exist. That relationship doesn't exist. And it kind of bumps me out, if I'm being honest with you. But it was an experience of a lifetime. And we sacrificed a lot to make that happen. And I would do it all over again in a heartbeat, obviously.
Well, you never know. You might get a chance to sit in front of Feldmann and, make peace with it still yet. So, hey, don't write it off.
One day.
Cool. I do have to go, though, because my wife is taking me out for dinner.
All right, great.
Which is lovely. But, yeah, we really appreciate your time, Ben.
Yeah, thank you so much.